we're going to speak about the end times. The return of the lost 10 tribes and the end times. Return of the lost 10 tribes and the end times. According to the sources, according to the biblical and related sources, what will happen in the end times? According to our understanding of the Bible, as we go, we'll tell you. First of all, we'll give you an overall view. First of all, we'll give a short overall view of what is going to happen without listing the sources. And then we'll go back over and take each point and to give some details of how we derive it, the conclusion, the scenario from the sources, what the sources say, or some of them, and we'll see how it goes. So for an overall view, first of all, an overall view of the sources, what will happen. The Jews will return to the land first. First of all, the Jews will return. You had the Israelite nation, the nation of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel are divided into two different sections. You have the Jewish section, the Jews, Judah, and you have Israel. Israel, comprised of the lost 10 tribes. And the lost 10 tribes are to be found amongst Western nations, amongst the peoples of Western Europe and also North America, Australia, New Zealand and related nations. So that is where the tribes are to be found. And in the end times, things will become more revealed. Things that were hidden previously will become more open, will be more easily discernible. In the end times, the Jews will first of all return to the land. The Jews will return to the land, that is Judah. Judah comprises the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, along with the representative minorities of the other tribes. That is Judah. Judah will return to the land. The 10 tribes, especially those of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, will help the Jews return. Joseph will help Judah rebuild the land and preparing the way for the other tribes. This too is happening. This is happening at the moment to some degree. It's happening. First of all, the British mandate over Palestine prepared the way for the Jews to return. The Jewish community, when the British took over Palestine at the end of World War I, there were only 15,000 Jews in the country. Before then, there had been about 40,000, 45,000, but during the First World War, many of them had left. They'd been expelled, or they'd departed, moved elsewhere, moved to Egypt, moved into other countries due to famine, due to sickness, due to persecution by the Turks, due to problems associated with the war. With all 4 different reasons, many of them had left, so the total population of Jews in the country was about 15,000. And these 15,000, under the British, with British help, under the British governance of the region, they'd increased to more than 600,000. 600,000? 600,000 is the same number of Israelites who came out of Egypt. That is an easy way to remember that number, 600,000, the number of Israelites approximately who came out of Egypt. And there were 600,000 Jews in 1948 when the Jews declared their independence. And Joshua would help them. That is what did happen. After the Jews declared their independence, they were helped at first by France representing Reuben, and also after that by the USA, very much by the USA. Until this day, they're still being helped by the USA. The USA represents Joseph, especially Manasseh. And they are, the Jews in the land of Israel are preparing the way for the other tribes. The end tribe, in the end times, the Gentiles will return in ships from the Atlantic Ocean, and by plane. Some of them will return overland, initially possibly via Kurdistan, Matzul, which is called Matzul in the Bible, the book of Micah, Matzul, Kurdistan. And even now, the region of Kurdistan is occupied. Is virtually controlled by the USA and the UK, who have a no-fly zone over the area. And the country is virtually independent. They're building the nation. which is quite a large nation. It's about more than 30 million people there altogether. And they're doing this under the radar. This is not openly acknowledged. The world does not know about this, not aware of it to such a degree, but it is a reality. When the Israelites return, before they come to the land of Israel as we know it, that is the state of Israel, they go to the area of Syria and Jordan. They're referred to in the Bible as Bashan and Gilead, and also to Lebanon. A portion of them also go to Samaria, that is to a region of Ephraim in Samaria, the hills of Ephraim. And some will also come to the region of Mount Carmel, near Haifa. But the bulk of the nation in the early stage will remain that of Judah, as it now is, and Judah will also increase in number. The 10 tribes, when they return, they will not intermix with each other so much, but they will remain separate. Jerusalem will be the capital, will join the territory of Judah. The Messiah, son of David, will have his own territory, along with the other tribes. The descendants of David and of Levi will be extremely numerous. But the family of David and the Levites will each have their own section in Jerusalem. In addition to that, each Israelite tribe will have its own suburb in Jerusalem, which will be very large. It will grow. It will be a megapolis stretching over a great area, reaching up to Damascus in Syria. And the land, not only do the Israelites come to this land of Greater Israel, stretching from the Nile to the Euphrates, but the lands they dwelt in before the exile will also belong to them. That is, the regions of Western Europe that the Western tribes now dwell in will still belong to them. So will the areas of North America, Australia and New Zealand. They will continue to pertain to the 10 tribes, and the 10 tribes will continue to dwell in them, as well as having a strip of land of their own in the Middle East, centered on the region of Israel. The whole world would change. The whole world would change for the better. We should also remember that the land of Israel is holy. All of the land is sacred, but its sanctity varies from one section to another. This has pertinence referring to the degrees, the stages in which the 10 tribes return. They will return at a lower level of holiness, but they will be purified and uplifted in that process. So this too is worth noting. So now that is an overall view of how we understand the end times to return, the process of return to be in the end times. Now we'll talk about a few of the sources that led us to draw this scenario.